You could.
That's the doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome back to the People's Weekly. We screwed up pretty bad.
I mean, we don't
Everything
even
went
tell
wrong.
them we screwed up. We could just say,
Nolan did an amazing intro. We
the
played all
first.
these clips. It
Just
was awesome. But
pretend it didn't happen, but thank you.
oh man, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna play these clips at the end. What we do is we play the Op Stop Suicide clip that was given to the People's Voice. So please definitely get involved with Op Stop Suicide. And we played the Acorn Electron clip that if you donate to Lori Love through the proper channels, he'll donate free 8-bit artwork to you just because you donated. So we'll play those at the end of this show. I'm pretty sick today. I don't know. I was feeling good. I went to work, and then all of a sudden, boom! It hit me again. So I'm on a bunch of NyQuil. So I'll take full responsibility for the fuck up at the beginning here, Nolan. You did awesome.
I was just gonna blame it on the FBI or something, but it's all good.
When all else fails, blame the feds.
Yeah, man, they've baffled us enough. So
We're being treated very unfairly. So yeah, you were talking about what you were working on. Can you go? Because that's
oh,
an awesome project, and I think that needs to be. You stole my idea before I thought of it.
well, what the project that I've been working on and finally able to get off the ground, it's called Remembering the Victims. And what it is we're honoring those who have been taken from us, people of color who've lost their lives to racial violence in America, both past and present. This has been a centuries-long problem. It still exists, obviously. And we started off with a young woman named Idisha Miller. She was 24 years old. She would have turned 25 had she not been killed by a Detroit police officer in 2012. The police officer is still on the force all these years later. And I had the privilege of talking with Yolanda McNair, who was nice enough to share some very tough things with me, and things that her family have been dealing with, things she's been dealing with since her daughter's killing. And she is a wonderful woman, just like Adisha was. And you can check that out on my Twitter. We also have a Facebook page, Remembering the Victims, and a Tumblr page. I think it's Remembering the Victims RIP. And it's like tumblr.com/Remembering the Victims RIP. So that's what I'm currently working on. And it's a privilege to share the air once again with my good friend Tim.
Yeah, it's always awesome, Nolan. What was man? I'm sorry, people. I'm out of it. I'm usually out of it, but I'm really out of it. So yeah, People's Weekly. We got a lot of new stuff coming. I always say that, but this is like next week. We're gonna have the new People's Manifesto. Will be out. I'm starting to shoot Renegades and Revolutionaries. I'm supposed to start this weekend. I don't know if, depending on how I feel, I might push it off till next week sometime. But that's a process, so it'll take a little longer. But definitely, there's going to be 3 real quick back-to-back kind of episodes of the People's Manifesto to kick it off, and they're all about knowing your rights with the police, filming the police, and they're all regarding police. I don't even remember what the hell the third one was right now. but it has to do with police and you, and probably filming them or something. So
Loosely titled "Fuck the Police." No.
yeah, so yeah, a lot of stuff coming in the works. It just takes time to get stuff done, especially if you want it to be kind of half-ass good quality. We're the kings of half-ass good quality. So yeah, I told Glenn I was gonna tell everybody he's banned from today's show
And why is that?
because fucking Canada burned down the White House,
Oh, of course, yes.
and I will not have a Canadian on the show on this great day. No, he was just busy, so I thought I'd make some shit up and make it seem like a big deal. But I'm
We
too
should
sick
always
to care.
believe what the president says.
What?
We should always believe what the president says. He's a
Trump's an
sound
awesome historian.
mind. And yes, I mean, he knows Frederick Douglass personally. They play golf together. I heard
He
Frederick
encourages
Douglass actually
Frederick
made
Douglass
a
to
tweet
tweet
together.
more.
Yeah, he did. Oh man, Trump is. You can never get over how ridiculous he is. I think the one point that should always be remembered is that you will never find a U.S. president who isn't an asshole. All 44 of them, and I say 44 because one of the 44 had two non-consecutive terms, and Trump is just happens to be pretty high on the ridiculous scale. And as far as I've been alive, I'm 30, so I was born in 87. It's the most ridiculous president I've seen in my lifetime. The other guy I could put in, at least in like a 50-year span, would be Nixon. But Nixon had some intelligence about him. As dirty as he was shrewd. This Trump guy, my gosh,
He's just like a clown. He's ridiculous in every way. From the way he looks, he doesn't even look like a normal person. He's got raccoon white eyes, reverse raccoon thing going on. His hair is like ridiculous. He looks like a walking joke. It's like really like if you saw that thing walking down the street on like if you're getting on a bus and you saw this guy, you'd be like, "What the hell is wrong with it? What kind of disease? What is this?" You know what I mean? But oh, he's the president. He looks he's the weirdest looking motherfucker ever.
He's the president. That can't be overstated.
If he wasn't the president, we'd have another evil
well,
piece
of course.
shit.
Like I said, they're all. I mean, whoever's going to be president is going to be a horrible person. But this guy, I mean, compare him to Hillary. At least Hillary is smart. One of the worst people to ever live on this planet, but at least she has some intelligence about her. She knows how to get things done. Obviously, there's the experience factor in government. But Trump, man, the thing with the War of 1812 and Canada, I mean, there's always something new that he says that reminds me of that Jeff Foxworthy show, Are You Smarter Than a fifth grader?
He's smarter than Donald Trump. Everyone would win. They beat.
Yeah, well, and then he keeps hiring people who aren't that bright themselves. And the first guy I point to is Ben Carson, which is ironic because he was a neurosurgeon, and you'd think he'd be very intelligent. But book smart is different than,
He's smart at one thing. Yeah, you know what? Let's go to number 2. We're trying to rush through today's show because we had the issues at the beginning and because I don't know when I'm going to become vomitous again. Let's go to number 2 since we're already on Trump. Is that cool?
That's all good.
Yeah, so Trump holds a patriotic flag and song party with the very low attendance at the White House, and the NFL isn't invited. Is Trump attempting to force displays of patriotism in a similar style to other dictatorships? You know what? The NFL wasn't invited because it was supposed to be a party to celebrate an NFL team that won some, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then
Philadelphia. Yeah. That whole thing is honestly driven me nuts for a variety of reasons. One of them being Trump has hosted a patriotic event, and then he's having the event, and he can't even sing God Bless America correctly. So when he
Well,
pushes his own agenda, he still gets it wrong.
he what was the team? It was the
Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah, okay. It was supposed to be their fans.
Hmm.
So he said it was all their fans came. First of all, he had a protester in there telling him he shouldn't use this for his own personal gain, and then dude took a knee while they were doing the anthem. Like
Hmm.
you said, Trump didn't know any half the words to either song. He just mouthed around looking like a clown. That's what he is. He's a clown. But then, he, I'm sorry, the media that was there went around to the fans of the Eagles and asked them what the name of the quarterback was, and nobody knew.
Hmm.
I don't know either, but I'm just saying they're
Well, it's
supposedly
pretty weird.
fans. I don't
Yeah,
watch any sports, so I'd be the last person to ask. But if you're a fan of something, you know what I mean?
that is bizarre. And I mean, I used to study sports day and night when I was a kid, and I ended up getting into sports media for a little bit. So if you don't know the quarterback of the Super Bowl winning team and you're a fan of that team, that's very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. Especially the quarterback has had two different stints with that team. This is his second time playing for the team. So it's very weird that they wouldn't know who he is. Nick Foles, I actually scouted him in college. He was playing at Arizona, and he's not a complete also ran. He's not somebody who is a complete. I guess he's a completely forgettable player because he actually threw 7 touchdowns in a game for the Philadelphia Eagles during his first stint with the team, and then he comes back and then comes off the bench and helps you win a Super Bowl, and you don't know his name. I don't know how to explain that. And Philadelphia fans, for better or worse, are very passionate about their teams, so that's utterly bizarre.
Well, these were people in Washington D.C. Probably not fans, probably paid or just Trump fans.
Oh yeah, a lot of them were paid by Trump. That is true. He does that a lot at events.
Well, it's kind of like that. They had some media crew was out there talking to Trump fans, and this one dude was like, "I'm not racist. My best friend's black," and they're like, "What's his name?" And he's like,
Tyrone.
He didn't even come with that. He was like, But then it's the same thing. Like the Eagles are our favorite team. We love them. Yeah, what's their quarterback's name?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, and we're talking about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is the most watched sporting event in the United States every single year, and yet these people couldn't come up with the name of the quarterback. And the quarterback is the most famous position in the sport, arguably the most famous position in American sports, and yet still could not come up with the name Nick Foles. It's a very simple name to remember. That's what, 9 letters combined? You can't remember that? Nick Foles, really? Nick Foles? My goodness. I feel bad for the guy.
I'll forget after the show.
Well, you're not a supposed fan of that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
These are fans.
Sorry to Nick Foles for that. But.
These are fans that booed Santa Claus years ago during an Eagle game. Again, a lot of them were paid Trump supporters. It has nothing to do with the Eagles, but still, the Eagle fans in the audience who didn't know his name, that's bizarre. These are very, very, very passionate fans. So that's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. That's amazing.
Why did they boo Santa Claus for infringing on Jesus' holiday and money?
I don't remember the exact story. I think the Eagles were not playing too well, and they were just angry and putting their anger into something.
That's okay then.
Yeah.
Just pick someone and be mad about whatever. But I thought it was something logical.
No. Well, I mean, why would you boo Santa? I mean, like you're talking about. That'd be the only logical thing I could think of.
Megan Kelly's Santa Claus is white, so you should boo any non-white Santa Claus because he's a fake.
And anybody listening, look up the skin tone of Saint Nicholas, the actual Saint Nicholas, who who Santa Claus is based off of St. Nicholas, and
Wait,
tell me if he's white.
what was
If
the
he's white,
quarterback's name?
uh, Donald Trump Jr.
No, really, what was it?
No, Nick Foles. Nick Foles.
Maybe he's Saint Nicholas.
That I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good. Send it over to the Eagles. You get a little commission check for that. A little market. He needs the marketing. That is
Yeah,
horrible.
this ain't a sports show, man. I'm too sick to care.
I feel for the guy. You know, they let him go once, and they brought him back, and he helped him win a Super Bowl. They forget him already. It's a shame.
Well, the thing is, Trump got mad at them for taking a knee, and none of them took a knee. Am I correct in that? Because that's what I heard reported by so many.
There was
stations.
one dude.
Even Fox News had to retract their story because they had put a picture of them praying or something, which to me is horrible too. But hey, maybe it worked. I don't know. If they won the big thing, the Super Bowl, then maybe their prayers worked. But I think Fox News put a picture of them kneeling to pray and said, "Look, they're all kneeling during the anthem." But then the reporters who know way more than me about it said that the Eagles team, not one of them ever took a knee during the whole.
Yeah, during the whole last season, and that's the other main reason I'm just losing my mind over this, because you're talking about a team that has a stadium that they play in called Lincoln Financial Field. Abraham Lincoln was a white supremacist who still holds the record for largest mass hanging in U.S. history. He killed 40 Native people, 38 Dakota. And then he also tried to deport the entire black population multiple times to Latin and South America. And then you get into the hollow protesting that they've done. This is a team that plays Washington. I've never used the name of their team. Twice a year. None of them say anything about it, even though it has been proven that the native mascot issue and the native the fake native nicknames that they give these teams harm native children and even contribute to their high suicide rates. And they don't say anything about that.
Trump said, I don't know if were you here on that show? I don't know, Nolan. I'm out of it right now. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about it, or maybe it was last week, where Trump had said they tamed this land and there's no reason to apologize for it. So basically, he's trying to say the natives don't really matter. Who are they? It's our land now.
I was not here on that show, but I do remember that happened. And
saying tamed is kind of like saying savages.
Well, we're animals, and I say we because this is black and native.
Yeah, I was going with the stereotype they use a lot with the native people. Yeah, he's a sick whack job, dude.
I mean, and like I said, this has been an issue with presidents forever in terms of just their utter disregard for human life, especially people of color. But Trump is more open about it than most. He's the most openly racist president since Harry Truman, who was a Klansman. But again, this has been a problem for a long, long time. You had the last president call black people, and I believe Obama's black, if I remember correctly, called black people
half.
He called black people thugs. And his Secretary of State has called black people and black men emotionally illiterate super predators. This has been, again, this is not new with Trump. There's just this Trump factor that exists where, because of the brainwashing and the indoctrination of this system into its citizens, the citizens believe that, oh, wait, racism is really a problem now again. It hasn't been a problem since, like, Martin Luther King was killed. I actually had some troll on my Twitter a couple of days ago say, yeah, the civil rights movement ended in 1968. And slavery ended in 1863. The dates he was putting up was hilarious. But to say the movement died in '68 is completely disingenuous to all the brothers and sisters who have been working tirelessly to liberate us for 50 years. But this is a widely held belief that, hey, that racism just became a problem again. We had a black president, and everything was fine, and now it's Trump. Oh boy, now we have a problem. And yet he was running against Hillary Clinton, who was mentored by a former Grand Cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan and has done harm beyond measure to people of color, especially black folks all around the world. But it's like with the Eagles. You have a white guy, Chris Long, who was on those cards that Malcolm Jenkins, one of the Eagles, was putting to the media. You have a white guy on the Eagles playing Washington twice a year. Again, Native people being tamed by white folks, colonizers coming in, and he hasn't said a word. He's been in the league for a decade. His father is Howie Long, a Hall of Famer. They played the same position, defensive end, and yet nothing, not a word. That's their N-word. That is the Native N-word. That is why I won't say it, because I'm not Native. Yet not a word. And Josh Norman.
I doubt many natives say that.
Well, it is their N-word, but has a different tag to it for them and us. White folks invented the word because they were scalping Native people, hence the name, the R word. So it has a little different origin than the N-word, but it's said all the time. Most people, and a high majority of American citizens believe the R word is okay to say. You will not believe, if you turn on an NFL game and Washington is playing, whoever the announcer is, more often than not, will say the R word. You're basically saying the N word for 3 hours. So
even the news I've seen on Twitter, sometimes it would say the word, or from different media outlets and stuff, talking about it. You know what though, Nolan? I was listening. I don't know what day it was. I was listening to the what is it, KPFK or something? The liberal station. It's always begging for money and trying to promote some kind of holistic voodoo kind of stuff half the time, but whatever, or positive thinking methods that will get you rich. But anyway, they have these little clips sometimes on there, and there was this woman talking. She sounded like she might have been Latina, and she was talking about since Trump came in office and the things he's doing are making this country go to a place it's never been before. Mm-hmm. It's going down to a place, and it's supposedly somebody that's a person. I guess they call themselves progressives or liberals, right? Mm. So they should have more common sense in that. I mean, but a place has never been before. The country was founded on genocide, and then slavery built it, and it's been racist ever since. Just because it might have been a little drop off in the racial waveform, or I don't know, dude. I can't think.
There's been more covert racism than overt racism, I would say, over the last 50 years.
50 years, because I was going to say less than 60, 70 years ago, they were having giant picnics and celebrations of white people, while they were hanging black people from trees and burning them and stuff. And it was all smiles and thumbs up in the pictures.
Well, that's the thing. You have the Jim Crow era creates the civil rights movement. And Jim Crow era was hardly, 5 years, 10 years. It lasted a while. But you get into the civil rights movement, and then COINTELPRO, FBI just jumps all over activists of color. And, Medgar Evers is murdered. Malcolm X is murdered. Martin Luther King is murdered. Stokely Carmichael was exiled. Assata has to run. Assata Shakur, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But after, and I remember having this conversation with my late father, who was a Panther himself. And we had basically like a 20-some year ongoing Black liberation discussion. And one thing that always kept coming up was, like after 68, it's like the movement was paralyzed. It was, and the perception of folks was like, well, I guess Black folks are free now. Everybody can go home. But that goes in that covert racism, the war on drugs, the Clinton crime bill, welfare reform, George Bush's creation of AFRICOM, which is instilling military operations in Africa, further messing with Black folks in our homeland. But Trump, I'm a little tired myself, Trump comes into the picture. Again, most overtly racist presidents, Harry Truman. And he's saying all these things that white folks are thinking, but they don't say because it's no longer politically correct. You'll hear Hillary say similar things, but in a more covert way. But you hear Trump say, again, those similar things. Native people were tamed. The people in Mexico are bringing their worst, rapists and drug dealers, etc. And just saying things that you hear from the alt-white, alt-right, alt-right, whatever the hell you want to call them, alt-right, whatever.
Trump is just shameless, and he just caters to his base relentlessly, and his base, like you said, are alt-right, Nazi, white supremacists, KKK types. And if they're not a Nazi or not a KKK, they're still white supremacists. Like, if you support Trump, you're a racist. There's no fucking other way around it. Sorry. Unless you're a millionaire or billionaire, then I'll say maybe you're doing it for the money, but you're still supporting racism for the money.
Well,
if you're not a millionaire or billionaire, you support Trump, you're a racist piece of shit. Straight up. Quote me on that.
Well, and again, that's then you get back to the covert versus overt racism. If you support Hillary Clinton, or hell, I just name a couple of liberals: Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Jeff Merkley, whoever, you're being racist because these people contribute to the dual genocide of indigenous and Black people. Yeah, well, and the people of color as a whole in terms of their oppression.
You support racism either way, but Trump, you're just a blatant racist. There's no other.
But you don't want to hide it. You don't want to hide it if you're with the Trump train. You're more proud of it. A conservative is a proud bigot, and a liberal is a bigot who hides.
You know what? One activist I interviewed, Samurai, a while back. It was at a anti-Trump rally in Beverly Hills where a couple of these damn Trump supporters came. But I was asking him, I was like, aren't the Democrats just as bad as the Republicans in the end? He was like, the politicians, yeah, but he said he liked to think of it that the Democrats are just dumb and they can maybe be reached because they want something better, and then the Trump supporters are just racist. They're lost. They're not going to carry their way. They're hopeless. And I kind of hope that's the case, but most Democrats and liberals and progressives look at me like I'm scum. Like I've been told I'm just as bad as the Nazis. I'm just as bad as this person. I'm just as bad on that person, just on the other side.
I've been told the same thing, which is even more disrespectful because wait a minute, I'm one of the people you're allegedly defending here.
Hey, can I knock this into number 3 real quick, because it doesn't seem like it's gonna be relevant, but it actually is.
Take it.
Okay. Number three is what's happening with OpSerenaShim. There's a lot of speculation and comments that the op is over, but it's definitely not. It's one of the longer running anonymous ops historically. We've taken time off to regroup and rethink the op. A new hashtag and mission that all can participate in will be unveiled soon. Get ready for it. I thought there were gonna be more people on here today. Everyone kind of got tied up last minute, and I was sick. So this is the thing: SerenaShim hasn't gone anywhere. It's just we're regrouping. We're thinking of some stuff. We got some stuff coming out pretty soon. I'd say weeks or less than weeks. But the thing is, it's these people here. It just pisses me off, and I'm sure it pissed a lot of other people. We've talked about it, other people involved in the op, that you have these white supremacists, white nationalists. I mean, just they jumped on board OpSerenaShim because they can pin it on Obama. That was their only goal. They don't give a fuck about SerenaShim. They don't give a fuck about anything other than we hate ISIS, we hate Obama, we hate Muslims, we hate this, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're sick people, and it's just like people were blocking me. People started blocking me. Like, I guess after a while, they looked at my actual account, not the OpSerena account or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, this guy hates us because I hate Nazis. And they're Nazis." You know, some of these people even go under the anonymous banner with all that QAnon bullshit. So, I mean, there's a lot of right-wing assholes in there. We're coming up with a plan to get them the fuck up out of there because they're no good for the op. You know, I would bet $1 billion, and Judith Poe can slap me down if I'm wrong, that SerenaShim would not be cool with a bunch of Nazis supporting her op. You know what I mean? She fought fascism. Turkey is a fascist fucking nation. Just like the United States. They're allies, fascist ally with fascist. You know what I mean? And she stood up and died fighting them. Why do you think she'd want fascists supporting her? So yeah, there's a lot to this more than just OpSerenaShim has gone nowhere. It's just regrouping, more stuff happening. And yeah, you know, y'all can just fucking leave, you racist motherfuckers that got in here just to bash a black dude. Fuck Obama. But you know what? It's not about that. It's they're not doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? When I say fuck Obama, it's because he's a horrible scumbucket. Being a black president was the best thing about him. You know what I mean? The first black president. That was the only thing I could celebrate.
Give some black kids some hope. That's the end of it. And
yeah. But immediately bank bailouts, droning people, continuing wars, all the lies, everything else, you know. Nah.
But they never, like you said, they never get on him for that because the things that you just mentioned, they support. It's the same with the Republican politicians. Republican politicians would literally support a measure by Obama, not knowing it was his. And then they see, oh, wait, we're not doing that. Nope. I ain't gonna help that Negro right there. And the same, you know, the all-white same way. You know, they get on him simply because he's black. That's it. That's the reason right there.
Yeah, they can't see anything else. Like, oh my God, a black president, that's the worst thing in the history of this nation. Mm-hmm. Like literally in their mind, that's what they think. That's the worst thing that's ever happened in this nation. They don't care about any of the horrible atrocities.
It was a national tragedy. I think it's fair to say for white America, and definitely the alt-white, whatever that far right you want to call it, whatever you want to call the far right, it was a national tragedy when Barack Obama got elected. It was,
you know what?
These
motherfuckers had 44.5 white presidents. Why can't they let motherfuckers have a 0.5 black president and just be happy about it? Is it that bad, you greedy motherfuckers?
For them, it's bad. Anytime we succeed in any fashion, anytime we hold any kind of position of power, it's a threat to them. And that's what we're talking about in the 50s and 60s of the Civil Rights Movement. That's why they killed so many of us off. That's why they put so many of us in prison and exiled us, because we were creating power for ourselves. We were empowering our communities. We were empowering our people, and that's not allowed in this country. And the amazing thing is, like you said, Barack Obama did the opposite as president in terms of empowering black people. He called his own people thugs. He called black children gun-toting criminals when he was talking to the Chicago police and saying all these nice things about the Chicago police. So it's a whole
Obama didn't say he wouldn't acknowledge OpSerenaShim. The whole United States government wouldn't acknowledge OpSerenaShim's death. And that included a whole bunch of Republican senators and congressmen.
Mm-hmm. She said days before she was killed, Turkey has been labeled by Reporters Without Borders as the largest prison for journalists. So I am a bit frightened about what they might use against me. And she did an incredible job reporting and gathering information about just awful, evil doings by Turkey and the Turkish government, which is why she was killed.
And if you motherfuckers think Trump would have cared about a Muslim journalist that worked for Press TV,
give me a break.
Yeah. So, he can say something. He's had a chance to say something when he was elected. There were tweets going at him, say something about this and that. He didn't care either. So screw them all. But we don't want racists and Nazis representing OpSerenaShim. And if I'm out of line, like I said, please correct me, Judith Poe, and whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a bad look. You know what I mean? It's a horrible look. How you hate Muslim people and you support OpSerenaShim? How does that even work?
Like you said, it's a front.
So we're just gonna go hard. We got a new thing coming. And hopefully those people weed themselves the fuck out. And it's not about them or anything. It's like we needed a break. People, there's a lot going on and stuff and but that's an extra plus. We've always had an issue with that since it started. All these people started jumping on like just maybe in 2016 or something. Or if they were already there, they started going like really hardcore alt-right racist,
Well, and it's a big, and I continue to give you so much credit for this. The efforts that are being made on behalf of OpSerenaShim and her family and her lovely mother, Judith Poe, is hardly easy because when you're talking about being halfway around the world, trying to sift through all this different information and then throw away the misinformation about her murder and death, that's a very big job. And then you have the infiltration by awful racist folks. And I remember...
Well, since day one, we've had an awesome core of a group of really good core people. Way smarter, way better than me at a lot of things. I just happened to do a radio show about it, and I guess people connected me, but I'm far from the main anything. There's so many people working together, all just we're all equals in this. It's really about Serena and not the people. I mean, OpSerena is full of great people, so. For the most, I just knocked a bunch of the people. I'm talking about the core group that was there from day one,
Well, anybody listening, please follow Serena's mother at Judith Poe, JUDITHPOE on Twitter. She is an amazing person and continues to fight for her daughter. And it's when I see stuff like that. I remember we started the show talking about Adisha Miller and her mother, Yolanda McNair, and what Yolanda's done since Adisha's murder, killing, whatever. I mean, that case right there, there's so much misinformation. We're not allowed to know exactly what happened. For that case, the cops said, the police department said, well, he accidentally misfired the gun. Then why you bring a gun to a party? And I've heard some good evidence, a lot of which I won't share just for safety reasons, that, he shot her from a distance, which would indicate a murder. So just for legal reasons, I was protecting myself, saying murder, killing, but it was a killing, and just like with Serena.
A lot of
And
cops are murderers. I say it every time.
And that as well. A lot of cops are murderers, and
all cops
cops
are
in general
murder
have
supporters.
and then they have a murderous mindset. That they're taught to have a murderous mindset against people of color. That's why Adisha Miller was killed. That's why we're killed every day and have been killed every day since the creation of this nation, before the creation of this nation. And Serena, I mean, I hate seeing that, because she herself was a young woman, and Judith, wonderful mother of Serena, and now Judith doesn't have one of her kids, and she doesn't have her daughter. And that is just, it's heartbreaking. But then you think about, well, this happens every day. It happens all the time because of nations like the United States and Turkey, and the UK, etc., and white supremacy as a whole. And it's just the fact that Nazis and far right folks hijack something like this. It's mind-boggling and disgusting. It's sick. It's sick. And then when you get to that point where, if you are a family member, and I see this cases of this happen time after time after time, if you are a family member of someone who was killed by the state, whether it's in Serena's case, the state of Turkey, in Adisha Miller, the United States, if you start fighting for your loved one's memory and fighting for justice for them, you become a target. And that's just scary. So the two options are just hold your head down, don't say anything publicly, and run the risk of your loved one being forgotten. It's just heartbreaking, and it happens every day. And that's why, the thing with, we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles of being silent as church mice, along with Trump's horrible open racism that he spews every day. We're just continually whitewashing the past, and we're having blinders on of what's going on right now. One of the topics today, I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it or not, but one of the topics was ICE and what's happening with immigrants in this country. ICE has been around since...
Let's get into that now.
Let's get into it now. ICE has been around since 2003. Now, Trump was not president in 2003, last time I checked. Obama deported, still holds this record by far, more people than any president in U.S. history. He was a black Democrat. So,
yeah, but the difference is, I think what a lot of people is, Obama didn't celebrate it, so a lot of people didn't know.
That's true.
And the thing is, Trump wants to outdo that. He's got Jeff Sessions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just saw a news report earlier today saying that thousands of people detained by ICE will be put into prisons, literal prisons.
Of course.
Yeah. So they're definitely trying to up their game, and that sadly is a record that I know Trump wants to beat, and knowing that Obama holds that record probably annoys him in so many different ways he can't even comprehend.
There was a pizza delivery guy. I think he delivered to a military base. They asked him for his papers like Nazis would. Mm-hmm. And then they arrested him for deportation. They're going to churches, like we said before. They're going to schools and picking up people's parents. They got kids locked in cages, in kennels where they won't let senators even go in and check them out. You know what I mean?
And
there's over 1,500 kids missing, and I know they say, oh, well, it's all semantics. Well, you know what? If you can't find these kids, or you don't know if they're safe in what kind of care they're in, what kind of people have them, then you can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the Senator Merkley, and I mentioned his name earlier. You have a senator coming to one of those detention centers, and I'll just call it a stunt. It was a photo op, who has helped this situation happen. His silence, his complicity, just allowed this situation to happen. That's everybody in Congress. But
Definitely.
he endorsed Hillary Clinton. He stays absolutely silent about the Native children who are kidnapped, and sold to white families. About 700 every year in South Dakota. Each child that the state of South Dakota takes of Native descent, they get $76,000 for that child. And yet, you ever hear Jeff Merkley talk about that? You ever hear about, again, Obama deporting more people than anybody, any president?
I know that, but to not let a senator in, like, who would be allowed?
That's crazy, and that's wild. That's absolutely wild. It's horrible that they wouldn't let a senator in. I'm just saying that there's another layer on top of that. Like, it reminds me.
They're all guilty.
Bernie, it reminds me of Bernie at when Standing Rock happened. He was doing photo ops with Native folks, using them for his own gain to try to get elected. And she's talking about how important Standing Rock was, and of course, once the election was over, he didn't say anything about it anymore, and show that he didn't care in the first place. But there's the covert racism versus the overt racism, and Trump and Sessions and Pence. These folks are talking about how evil immigrants are, and you talk about Turkey. I get Turkey in Asia, Turkey's an Asian. Turkey's an Asian country, I believe. I get confused because they're for soccer purposes they're considered European. Anyways,
Turkey's Middle Eastern.
Okay, the Middle East, wherever they are. That
Asian would be like India
That section of the globe, white supremacy is all over the place. Injustices are all over the place, and the whole immigration factor. You have more folks on the far right. The folks of the far right in Europe saying all our problems are because of immigrants. Immigrants are rapists. We need to not let anybody else into our borders, even though and Trump has said this himself. He talked about how horrible immigrants have been in Sweden, and yet Sweden has a hate crime problem over there, and they're hardly the only one, but he singled out Sweden because of the stats of rape going up, and trying to lace it with immigrants. And talking about Europe as a whole, Germany actually had to come out. The German government had to come out and say, "Hey, you can't trace the rape stats and the crime stats with the influx of immigrants. It's just not mathematically true. It's not true." It's German government saying that. The same German government that has Nazis in it right now. Okay, but
they're not out open as Nazis because that's highly illegal there. They're probably just white supremacists or something. Nationalists.
There are literal far right Nazis in the government. It's a very small percentage. I think it's like 1% or 0.3%, but they have seats in the German government.
I didn't know that. I thought it was illegal to even do anything.
They seem to be relaxing those rules. They've even found that Nazis are in their military again. Of course, it also came out recently that there are Nazis holding high positions in the U.S. military. So,
in 2014, the FBI did a report that said Nazis were infiltrating military and law enforcement in the U.S. at crazy rates, and now we're seeing the fruition of their harvest.
It's evolved racism. It's evolved white supremacy. Again, this has been a problem forever with European countries and especially the United States. This is why you have my homeland, Africa, has been pillaged and raped nonstop since the 15th century. So back to Trump, back to that far right factor, the Trump factor. These folks are just so vocal about it, and people on Trump's team are much better than he is, and they've given him credit to the point of how they've used his propaganda. They've spun it well enough to get to that far right to go from fringe to more mainstream. So you keep having neo-Nazis running for office. Was it Nathan? I think it was Nathan Lerner. He is.
There's a few of them across the country.
Oh, there's a few of them. This guy is just happened. Nathan Larson in Charlottesville. To show that white people never learn a damn thing about racism. This guy is running for office in Charlottesville. And he is outspoken about how he, basically hates women. He wants to make romantic and sexual relationships between children and adults legal. He's an open supporter of Adolf Hitler.
Nazis are big on the pedophilia, man. They go hand in hand.
Of course.
And it's weird because you think like that, there's two. One's just racist and one's some twisted, rapist of children. But I guess if you're a vile person, you're a vile person in every which way.
Yeah, and it's very scary to see how you talk about pedophilia, sexual assault in general, sexism in general, transphobia, Islamophobia, all these different forms of oppression, how they are tied to white supremacy, how they are tied to the ideology of Nazis, neo-Nazis, far-right folks. And that's the Trump factor. In the United States and Europe, you're seeing an outpouring of support for overt white supremacy. In Europe, you're having marches of tens of thousands of people supporting Nazism. So this is a problem that has evolved because a lot of, especially in the United States, these folks were in the closet. The Klan was much more in the closet in the States. Neo-Nazis in general, more in the closet. But now, wait. We got one of our own as president, as leader of the free world. We can just go outside, and be proud of our big.
They always have, man. It's just been small pockets. Now you see it more on the media. But I remember when years ago, what was it, 1999 or something, the police murdered a kid named Urban Landrum Jr. and planted the chief of police gun on him. With this whole big story, and there were dudes dressed as KKK out there saying we support our police with Confederate flags back then. The Nazis, man, we used to fight the Nazis in Riverside all the time. They'd be out there attacking workers at Home Depot, Latino workers, undocumented people. It's just now it's 40% of the country, and they're all proud of it, and they're not little pockets of now they're more mainstream. I think that's the only difference, man. I mean, Trump's approval rating has went up. It's like in the 40s now.
It's in the 40s?
Yeah. I mean, these are real polls, not the Fox polls that always have him higher. I think with that he's even higher, maybe. But yeah,
I mean, wow, 44%. Political, AOL, both saying the same stuff. I just, when you said it, I was like, seriously?
Another thing I heard on radio was they were talking about if you bash Nazis and yell at them and call them racist, they're never going to see the light because they'll look at you as violent. What the fuck does that do? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Kanye said that similar
You're supposed
thing.
To hug them and pat their heads. And
love is the answer, all that nonsense. Kanye said something similar when he was going on his rant about how slavery was a choice, slavery is a choice, and all that nonsense.
Do you remember that Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing?
Right.
Remember that dude, Radio Raheem? Hate, love conquers all. There's a love you need to give a Nazi.
Give me a break. But Kanye said, look, love is the answer. And you can go to the most patient black man that you could think of, basically, in Martin Luther King. Even he figured out, wait a minute. This holding hands, kumbaya shit ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. He said himself, I think we're integrating into a burning house. Whether it's left, right, or center, the majority of white folks, sorry, they ain't going to change. They're going to stick with their racist ways, and that's just what it's going to be. Now, if you're talking about Nazis, the far right, and people in his time, King's time, like people like Barry Goldwater, George Wallace, you really ain't going to save them. You made the point, Tim, about how if you're not talking about politicians, if you're talking about the everyday person, but liberal versus a conservative, yeah, you can have more logical conversations with a liberal than a conservative. There is more of a hope that maybe one day they'll finally knock off their nonsense and understand the error of their ways. And you talk about conservatives, far right, and they go even more extreme down that rabbit hole. Yeah, you're not going to be able to hug them and then okay, they're better now, they're fixed. The war was fought to stop the Nazis, and this has been said time and time again over the last, I guess, since Charlottesville, since Trump was elected.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but the white people nowadays have a whole mythical version of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. They seem to think he was awesome. White people back then hated him. They hated him so much that they murdered him.
They did not like, and they murdered him.
And the thing is, the Panthers knew he had it wrong. A lot of black cats back then were like, "We're not going to be sitting there singing 'We Shall Be Overcome.'"
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're going to fight. We shall,
right? Yeah, and it took one thing that gives me energy, gives me hope, gives me life is I look back and I see how Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they crossed over to the middle of each other, and they became so much of the other person. Malcolm started off when he joined the movement as very militant, very, very distrusting of white folks to the point of the devils, they're all devils, they're all devils. And I will never blame a black or native person for ever hating a white person or calling them devils. But the point is, Malcolm absolutely hated white people. We don't even talk to them, don't even look at them. Let's do what we got to do and just pretend they're not there almost. Martin was like, no, we got to hold hands. We got to talk with them. We got to talk with Lyndon Baines Johnson. We need to talk to these people and have open conversations, and basically it's running on a hamster wheel, wasting time. But then as they both got older, as the 60s went on, they started to meet in the middle. Martin started to see, wait a minute. They ain't going to listen. They don't want to listen. They like having power over us. They do think we're animals. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to get rid of this system that is in place so we can be free again. Malcolm goes over to Mecca. He is Muslim, pilgrimage over there. He sees white Muslims. Wait a minute. The religion that I'm giving my life to, white people also believe this? Oh, my goodness. That means not all white people are evil. So they get to that middle. They get to that middle of, we need to get rid of this thing called the United States government. We need to get rid of this thing called capitalism and all that stuff. And at the same time, wait a minute, there are some white folks who are on our side, who will help us, who will lay down their lives for us. And that does give me hope, seeing that crossover. And like you're right, just see early on, Martin did believe that kumbaya myth. And that is a rallying cry of liberals nowadays, modern liberals. You hear it from black folks, you hear it from white folks, you hear whoever is liberal. And it's very, very harmful. And there's that covert racism. If you're going to go to a group of people who are abusing you and will not stop abusing you and will not apologize and then blame you for them abusing you, they're not going to listen to you when you try to have a logical discussion about how your life matters, how the lives of your people matter, and how they need to stop oppressing you. That's just not going to work. But
Dude, since Black Lives Matter started, they've been slandering that all lives matter.
no,
How can you say that? Because they don't get it. Suppose they get it. It's a racist thing. But then they took it a step further. Blue lives matter. You know, because here's the thing. So basically, someone's profession they have chosen life is worth more than a black person's life. Who's born black? But the guy that becomes a cop, his life is more important because of his job. That's ridiculous. How these people think, man. I don't know how to combat it. I thought I need to put a bumper sticker on my live. I mean, on my car that says "Blue lives don't matter." Fuck Smurfs or something like that. I don't know. It's just dumb shit, dude. What the fuck is a blue life? I think now they got the little damn American flag with the blue stripe. I didn't know what the hell that shit was.
it's honestly it's scary to see because you're sanctioning terrorism, you're sanctioning murders, you're sanctioning sexual assault. These are all things that are absolutely rampant in American policing and always have been. These are American police were birthed from slave patrols and quote unquote Indian unquote patrols, making sure you caught a runaway slave. Slave patrols would go after them and had license to do horrible things to them. And of course, I will always just look absolutely stunned when I remember this quote and line that I read about these quote unquote Indian patrols keeping the white population safe from the native people. That's ironic and utter bullshit. But this is how the police still think. This is how they operate. They are told to harm people of color. They are told to target children of color, whether that be detaining them, kidnapping them. I'm not going to continue down that line because it gets worse.
We mentioned this before. I think what it does is like this. That the police say, "Fuck all poor people." You know what it's like Animal Farm. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. So you have all poor people are equal. So some poor people are more equal than others. So the white poor people will get treated a little bit better, or a lot bit better in many cases in the country, than a black or Latino or Native poor person. You see what I'm saying? Or even a rich person. But I think that's done intentionally to make these poor ass white people feel like they're above something.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I don't understand any other reason for it. I don't understand the whole separation thing. Why don't all the poor people unite, and then we win?
Well,
You know what I mean?
that's a major reason why Dr. King was killed. He was getting folks together to combat capitalism. He was getting poor folks together. Look. The system is absolutely destroying us. We need to get rid of it, and that's why he was one major reason why he was killed. And I saw that the narrative you're talking about a lot in both Donald Trump's campaign and Bernie Sanders' campaign.
Historically, too, this has been going on.
Of course. It's talking recently, but Trump would lean over to those poor white folks. No, I got you. Don't worry about it. Not saying anything that is telling them, okay, this is how I'm going to help you and save you. But I got you. Don't worry about it. It's all the colored folks' fault. Immigrants. It's all their fault. They're messing with you. They're taking your money. They're taking your jobs. And then on the other side, you have Bernie Sanders at a black forum say, hey, you know what? To your question, Miss Black Woman, about if black people should receive reparations, I think, we should make sure money gets to all people who are poor. But he basically said, yes, white people should get reparations too because they're poor. So, but excuse me, but that narrative that poor white folks, you're going to be first in line and support me. I've got you. Don't worry about it. And that has been a major tool of the Republican Party, especially for, like you said, for a long, long time, blaming everything on everybody else. None of this is anybody's fault but people of color, women, and immigrants. It's all their fault. And they're taking all your money, taking all your jobs. So just vote for me and everything will be fine.
Yeah, I don't know how people can't see through that. I really don't. Like, we know who's taking our money, we know who's taking our job, and it's not the poorest people, and it's not the immigrants.
Well, because
I say this almost every week. 11 million immigrants from Latino immigrants in this country, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How many other people in this country? 225 million or something, or 325 million?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing: do you really think those 11 million people are doing what 30, 40 times all the work of everybody? They're not taking everyone's job. It's impossible. Do the math, you fucking idiots.
And they make so much money for the economy too. If you took away those 11 million people, an already decapitated economy,
there's a bunch
would be in even more trouble.
There's immigrants, undocumented immigrants that pay taxes but never get taxes back.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, think about that.
The taxes are paid so they get put in prisons for being an immigrant.
If they get caught. Caught what? Working?
Yeah.
Being a good citizen?
And of course,
I think these bastards look at these kids like a little Mexican baby and be like, oh, it's a future rapist, a future murderer, a future killer.
That's not, been not the narrative.
Like, this might be the next doctor that cures a disease. This might be the next scientist that comes up with the greatest. This might be an inventor that does this or that. It might be, You're not supposed to look at children in a negative way.
Children are pretty much innocent. Their brains and psyche are still being built. Okay, they go through life.
That's how these people look at it.
I know. I'm just saying it's not a mindset anybody should have, but this is the mindset, and it has always been the mindset of American law enforcement. And one thing that cannot be forgotten here is the people that are being told to go back home have a rightful claim to both of the continents that are in the discussion, North and South America. If you are a non-white so-called Latino, you're you're indigenous to this land. Now, obviously, so many of these native nations have been wiped off the face of the earth, and they can't claim, oh, I'm part of that nation or this nation. But the color that they show, because people of color, non-white Latinos, also called non-white Hispanics, the color that they have is native, is indigenous. Now, if you're talking about like if you're talking about a white Latino like Charlie Sheen or the Sheen family, Martin Sheen, Emilio Estevez, that's not what I'm talking about. But the people that are being told to go back home. Yeah, well,
you're talking about winning, guy? Winning.
Yes, yeah. Estevez. The name was changed.
Oh, I never knew that.
It's not his name. That is not his birth name. Good. I want to be white. Whether I have white blood or not. You have if you're called Latino, people automatically think colored. But the point that I'm making, the people that are told you need to go back home. You need to go back home. This isn't your land. Wait a minute. Y'all came here illegally and started killing everybody and taking their land, and taking the land of the people that you're telling to go back home. But this is the absolute ignorance and cognitive dissidence of white supremacy.
I think we should just find out where all these racist white people live, and just, send black native people who don't have as much stuff over and slaughter them and take their house, because the white people seem to think that's a legitimate way to get stuff, right? kill people and take their shit. So should it work both ways? Does that make sense? White races
Well,
should the other people just come in, and if they can kill you and take your house and it's theirs and they can just live
this
there
is
and be cool?
discussion that is being had in South Africa. It's been
Oh, they're
discussed.
going
It's been
crazy.
on the
They're like
table.
white genocide. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
There's been an Israeli soldier or ex-soldier, I cannot remember, who's been training white farmers to attack black folks. Okay, but this has been talked about a lot in South Africa. Now, obviously, the land is black land. That is black Africa, blackity, black. Yet we're still having a discussion of, well, should white people be talked about in the same sentence of being oppressed? Are white people being oppressed? Are things being taken from them that is theirs? Hold on. Theirs, that is ours. Now, the problem with that is created is, well, okay, you could have a normal, decent white family owning I'm just using South Africa as an example. They own a farm. They got the farm legally and didn't steal it from anybody. But then do you send them back to Europe? Do you because they're descendants of colonizers? Or do you just take the land outright and say good luck to you? You know, but
I would do it. I would do what the white people have traditionally done to you.
Well, and I don't blame South Africa at all, or President Zuma at all for taking that approach, because as long as you're not actually killing them or physically harming them, that's our land. That is our land.
They call Africa a shithole. They call it junk. The first thing they do is, oh, you want to go back to broke ass Africa? Who destroyed it? Who killed it? Who you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Who colonized it? Who made it what it is? It was rich with all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? It had gold. It had what?
But pre-colonized Africa, we had political systems that are so much more advanced than these capitalistic structures that you see in Europe and the United States. You had the richest person in the history of the world came from Africa. He was a black man, Mansa Musa of Mali, the Mali Empire. Unlike capitalism, he gave so much of his wealth to people in need and countries and nations in need. Capitalism takes from the bottom for the top. The top takes from the bottom in capitalism. That's not how the African politics works. That's not how African life works. And yet we're like you said, we live in a shithole. We're uncivil. We needed to be civilized. You know, just like with the thing with Native folks here and being tamed, quote unquote. It's just white racist bullshit. And the problem when you try to clean up white racist bullshit is there's so much to clean up. And
then you deal with more white racist bullshit. Well,
exactly. So what do you do if we were to actually have measures put into place on this land so Native people can get their land back, which should be done? A whole host of problems come up. I'll just talk about my folks for a second. You have millions of black folks who came here as slaves and were displaced people on stolen land. What do you do with us? Are we supposed to go back to Africa? Are you going to provide
reparations and give them an option?
Well, obviously we should get reparations as well. But then Native folks, this is their land. Do you just kick white people out of their homes, give them coach tickets back to Europe, and buy them a house there? I mean,
no. We already set up with this system here, and since this is a system they're rolling with, then I think that the government, the United States government, the white government, needs to pay the Native people, every single tribe, money for being on their land every single year, and it needs to be divided.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. I've heard jokes about that. I've never really heard that talked about in theory, because that is a good idea.
Why you paying billions and trillions of dollars and give it to the people that own the fucking land, bitches? Like, for real.
if native, and obviously not every native nation is the same, they're not a monolith as a people, but if native nations got on board with that, I mean, I would definitely support that. Because again, if you were to clean up the mess to the point of, okay, we're giving all the land back to the native people, every inch, then you're fixing a problem, but then you're also creating a problem itself, because, well, what do you do with all these innocent people that aren't
Hey, if they don't like it, they can leave, dude, or they can go with what the landowners say you could do.
Right. Well,
I mean, it's the same thing with Israel. They need to get them white people up out of
rent.
Palestine.
Well, that is.
In a few hundred years, it's going to be the same situation if there's still any Palestinians
We're
left.
only talking about 70 years at this point. Yeah, in a couple 100 years, the problem of Palestinian genocide and indigenous genocide in the Americas will look very, very similar, even though they do look similar to a point now. And the land that Palestinians have now is just like indigenous people here. It's such a small sliver of what they rightfully should be able to claim. So again, if somehow the Israeli government woke up and said, "Oh, okay, we need to stop. We are horrible. We need to stop now, and we're going to give all the land back to Palestinians." What do you do with the Israeli people who aren't committing any of these crimes against Palestinians, and they're just living their lives and bought a house legally? What do you do with that? So we have all these.
That would be up to the Palestinians.
Well, yeah, it should be. I think it should be.
And here's the thing: there's no shame in going back to Europe. You paid people to go to Israel, pay them to go back to where they came from.
And that is one thing. Aren't
most of the people from like Eastern Europe, Poland, and places like that?
Well, yeah. The creation of the Jewish state, Israel. But this is one thing that the far right and Republicans themselves are closer to the center than far right. But this is what these people don't understand and don't want to understand, or just pretend it's not a thing. When you create these problems of racism and oppression, you're creating refugees. When you take land that doesn't belong to you and displace these people, well, then where are they going to live? They don't have a place to live, so they're going to search for a place to live. They become a refugee, and then they immigrate somewhere else, oftentimes to a land that has a better economy and a better way of life, because they have stolen resources, like France, like England, like Sweden, like the United States, versus Sudan, versus Libya, versus Kuwait, versus Jordan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we can't, we haven't gotten to the point where, on a national scale, and that's what we both work towards, Tim and I and people in the movement, we haven't got to this point where, okay, we're going to have honest discussions, and we're going to have these honest discussions to get to a point where we can work past these problems and liberate these oppressed people, whether it be black, native, trans, women, disabled people, poor people, etc. There's too much white racist bullshit in the way of that we need to continue to fight against and clean up. And I will say that, although, because you asked the question, how do we do it? How do we deal with these people? Those people, whether they be left, right, or center, I'm talking about white folks who are racist folks. You have at least 67% of the population in the United States who is white or racist people. That's just that's scientific. That it is what it is. 2 + 2 = 4. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, so that's the reality. We don't need to go to those people and say, look, let's have a conversation. Let's figure this out. I want to work with you. We don't work with them. My first philosophy as a revolutionary is, hey, guess what? Any white person who's legitimate, like my current co-host Tim, wants to come with us and help and try to get us out of this mess, I'm all with you. Let's work together. But I'm not going to seek anybody out who is white and try to liberate us. Because
that ain't your job.
Well, it shouldn't be our job. It's the same thing with educating white folks. That's not our job. When you have, I know you have racist trolls, even as a white person. Same with me. When these racist trolls come up, oh, give me your sources. I don't believe you. Give me a link. Do you Google? Like, why do we have to be the mules all the time? Hence the 40 acres and a mule thing, which is, I'm going on a mini tiny tangent. The 40 acres and a mule thing is anti-native. Why are we getting land that doesn't belong to us? This is all native land, every inch of it. Now, reparations and you're talking about black folks.
Ain't nobody got 40 acres and a mule. That was built on a lie already.
Exactly. Well, and reparations as far as black folks go in this country should be primarily in the form of cash. Now, if you're talking about Africa, that's a different story. But I just want to say that piece in terms of how do we go about dealing with racist white folks? Well, you don't deal with them. Other than you're fighting back against them, you just don't deal with them, and just to try to build against what they want to keep, which is white power,
racist
white
white
privilege.
people that most people need to deal with is the ones in the system, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, I mean, and definitely.
I mean, like your
like
home
said,
loans, your bosses,
yeah.
your lawyers, your doctors, all that shit.
Cops, poor
fucking
people come in all
politicians.
different shapes, sizes, and colors. There's no question about that, and nobody should have to be poor. This whole notion of no. If you're poor, it's all your fault. No. I'm gonna close to the 4 hour, the 4 o'clock mark on the West Coast, anyways. So, I was just gonna say, if you hadn't told the listeners that you were sick and maybe not coughed a couple of times, they wouldn't they wouldn't have known the difference. I mean,
I took a ton of medicine. If they would have heard the first show that I deleted,
true.
It hadn't kicked in yet. I was kind of like, I was actually in the bathroom, hoping I wasn't gonna vomit for how long was it, Nolan? I was like, hang on one more second, I can run back.
It was a few minutes. Yeah.
So. Yeah, there was a show before this. We deleted it because I don't think you could hear it. We're gonna play the 2 audio clips in a second. Anything else on this you wanna say real quick before we leave this topic?
I'll say this because you gave me a link for it yesterday regarding the case. Kevin Cooper.
That was pretty damn amazing, wasn't it?
That was pretty damn amazing.
The Young Turks talked about something legit.
I was shocked. They
surprise me every so often.
They do, and the woman on there, I cannot. Anna Kasparin, she seems decent, but Kevin Cooper is a legally.
I see that other guy at the 7-Eleven all the time. One of the Young Turks reporter dudes is funny.
The Sense.
One of the white dudes. He's tall. He's way taller than he looks sitting down on the air.
I guess everybody has to go to 7-Eleven. I mean, but Kevin Cooper is an illegally incarcerated black man who's been on death row for over 3 decades, was nearly executed in 2004 with less than 4 hours on the clock. He is an incredible activist, amazingly from death row, incredible artist, great painter. You can find his essays. He writes incredible essays, putting his thoughts on the movement to paper and giving it to us as the people. You can check that out at savekevincooper.com. And the Young Turks did a segment on it, partly in large part because the New York Times did a piece on Kevin Cooper's case, because if you read, it would take 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever, to explain all the ridiculousness of this case. But the New York Times went into pretty good detail about all those holes in the story that convicted him. And you can, I please write to him, because this is one of the things that keeps him going and gives him hope. Write to Kevin Cooper, Mr. Kevin Cooper, hashtag C-65304 4 -EB-82 at San Quentin State Prison, San Quentin, California 94974. And again, the numbers under Mr. Kevin Cooper, #C -65304 space 4-EB-82. This is how difficult it is, right?
You know what? Just if you could type it out on Twitter and tag it to People's Radio, and we'll put it out. Also, we have shows. If you type in People's Radio United Kevin Cooper, we have shows, and that's listed in the description of the shows as well, I believe. So,
and you can find that on the Spreaker People's Radio page and People's Radio United page, and also at the People's Radio United website.
Yeah, we got it on Spreaker, YouTube, and our website. Just type in, like I said, Google search People's Radio United Kevin Cooper. They should pop up. We had some really knowledgeable people that know Kevin Cooper and had written books on the case and all kinds of stuff talk to us, and Nolan was one of the people.
And I got to give a shout out to Carol Siegelman.
Siegman or something. Yeah, I don't remember.
Last name's hard to pronounce, but Carol Siegelman. She is a part of Kevin's support team. She's an activist herself, and along with Norman Heil, David Alexander, our lawyers, helped get that New York Times article printed. So these people do incredible work for Kevin, and David actually saved Kevin's life. He was right out in front of that with 3 hours and 42 minutes on the clock in 2004. So please write to Kevin. Check out his case at savekevincooper.com. You can also find the New York Times article. Just type in New York Times Kevin Cooper in Google. But I always want to mention Kevin when I can. He's already 60 years old, and he's been
especially when he's getting pressed now, which is good.
Yeah. And Mike Ramos, who's been against him, has been ousted in the election. So it's one of the good things about the election that I know Tim and I are not big fans of U.S. politics, but that was one good thing.
Sometimes bad people get what they deserve. Well, if he got it deserved, he'd probably fall off a cliff or something and be in pain. But yeah, number 4, real quick, we're not even going to go over. I'm just going to read it. Sarah Huckabee Sanders says she is an honest person. The fact a room full of media didn't disrupt with jeers or laughter should be a concern. From calling lies by this administration mistakes and untruths to just going along as if it didn't happen, the media seems more concerned with losing access and calling the administration out on all their blatant lies. The question was, how should the media be treating these liars? Let me just say, fuck Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's a lying piece of shit, and so is all the people that she works for. We don't got time to go into this, Nolan. I'm going to go ahead and run the Stop Suicide. And, you can comment on that, Nolan. I wasn't trying to cut you off or be a dick. I'm sorry, but just real quick.
She is awful. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. And the media should stop letting her run the show. You know what I mean?
Yes, the media put Trump in office, ironically.
What if every reporter asked her a question, she evaded it, answered, lied, or whatever? The next reporter says, no. Let's go back to this question. Then she evades and lies. A third, calls another one. No, I really want to revisit that question you neglected to answer. And then the next one, why'd you lie? It should be, that's what the press conferences should be.
Well, and she replaced Sean Spicer.
Yeah.
Who preaching Holocaust denial.
White House a joke. How come the president lies so?
I think she's better than Spicer. She's horrible, but Spicer was on another planet.
How come the president lies so much? Look, it's because he never did anything wrong. He never lied. Look, she's such a hillbilly, hick, lying piece of crap.
Huckabee.
I can't stand it.
She's a Huckabee.
She's a Huckabee. She's a huckster. Anyway, yeah. So, I'm gonna play. Like I said, I'm gonna play the important message from OpSerenaShim, and then I'm gonna play the Acorn Electron donate to Lori Love and get some free artwork. They were both sent to the people. Oh man, the medicine is screwing me up. The People's Voice show. So you can listen to them on the People's Voice. We're gonna play them right now as we take the show out. Thanks a million, Nolan, for putting up with me and basically handling the show and all the technical difficulties today. So I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. I always love sharing the show with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass out in about 10 minutes if I don't vomit first. So
Goodbye,
yeah,
everybody.
that's a good way to end the show. So here comes an important message from Op Stop Suicide, followed by the Acorn Electron People's Voice shows. See you next week.
Greetings. We are Anonymous Operation Stop Suicide. Do you love humanity? Do you care about all people? Do you feel more alive when helping others? Do you believe that helping one person can possibly change the entire world? Do you want to be involved in one of the longest running anonymous operations in history? Are you looking for an op where the feds won't always be on your back, and you won't have to do anything illegal to help others? If this sounds like you, then Operation Stop Suicide wants you. In these crazy times, in this crazy world, there are even more people hurting than usual. There are more people than ever wanting to end it all, to escape from the madness and insanity of everyday life. Many of these people can be saved if they just had somebody who genuinely cares about them, someone that they can talk to, someone trusted that they can confide in. We desperately need more people involved with Op Stop Suicide who are willing to help others. Please contact at Op Stop Suicide on Twitter to get involved today. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is hurting and desperately needs you. Don't wait another second. Contact us now and get involved. You may end up saving a life and making a new friend for life. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We love, assist and protect our sister and brothers around the world. To all those hurting, to all those who desperately need help, expect us.
Hi everyone, how's it going? It's Acorn Electron here. I just wanted to let everyone know about an idea that I'd had, an idea that I wanted to put forward. I'm just trying to raise awareness for Lori Love's continuing legal battle in the UK. Anybody that's been following his case will know that the threat of extradition to the US has now passed by with the High Court ruling. There's some victory against that, but things are still ongoing in the UK, and so there's a defence fund. The freelorry.com website, the Courage Foundation site there, has got a donate system in place so that people can help with the defence fund for Laurie. And I wanted to kind of raise some awareness for that, and people that know me on Twitter will know that I'm a low-res artist. I do 8-bit artwork on an old vintage computer, an Acorn Electron, and I wanted to kind of use that artwork for this really. And the idea that I had was that if people were kind enough to donate to the Defence Fund, if they could ping me over a DM on Twitter, or you can email me, acornelectron@protonmail.com. So just get in touch through Twitter or on the email and just let me know you've donated. I don't need to know how much. It doesn't matter how much. You know, if you can donate, that's great, whatever you can spare. But just let me know you've done a donation, and I'd be happy to do some artwork for you, some bespoke artwork. If you've got something you'd like me to draw, I can have a go at that. It's kind of a quirky, unique style, the artwork that I do. If you have a look on my Twitter profile, a fair bit of it's been posted up on there, and there's a link to the Goblin Refuge archive site that I use for the artwork, so you can have a look at a bit more of it. But, you know, the picture that I draw doesn't have to be political or anything like that. Anything you want me to have a go at, I'll draw it and send you over the PNG file. And you can, you know, do what you want with it. I won't use that picture for anything else. But I just thought it might be a nice way just to get people thinking about donating if they haven't done previously, and go over to that free Laurie website, the Courage Foundation one, freelaurie.com, because you can read all about the case there, and some of Laurie's background if you're not familiar with what's going on. And yeah, that's about it. So if you feel you can donate, please do. That's great. And ping me over a message, and we can have a chat about a drawing. So thanks for listening, and thanks to People's Radio for letting me just get this out there. And yeah, have a great day, people. Thank you.